one is I can. All right, here we go. All right, hi everybody. This is going to
Um,
be a replay of my 100% tool-assisted speedrun of Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time for Game Boy Advance. The unappreciated black sheep of the Sands of Time series. Yeah, I actually kind of like how there's a pretty faithful replication of the console game's title screen at the beginning here. All right, so are you ready to start the timer?
yeah, I guess Sphere is ready.
Because we'll need it. I might need some safety strats on this. Anyway, three, two, one, let's go. Oh man, I love that. I love that intro. All right, so 100% in this game is the definition is basically everything that you can collect in this game without the use of the Game Boy Advance GameCube link cable. So like there's three items. There's like an extra Sands of Time bag that you can get, and there's also these two items called elixir potions, which fully restore your health and your Sands of Time. And those you can only get if you connect your Game Boy Advance to GameCube, and you have to like play through Sands of Time on GameCube and like open certain doors and do a bunch of other things. So yeah, this game is kind of a combination of Sands of Time and the original Prince of Persia, sort of combining it with Metroid a little bit as well. So here I'm going to pick up a scroll in a little bit, which was, you also saw that I picked up a scroll earlier. There are 15 tutorial scrolls, that's one of the collectibles. And rolling is the fastest method of travel in this game. Although there is a one-frame window in which you can move forward as opposed to standing in place. That adds up over time. So here you go. This is a sand Persian. They're actually one of the collectibles in the game, and there are 75 of them, and we'll have to kill them all for 100%. Oh, and that was an extended jump. This game has really weird collision detection stuff.
Like every Prince of Persia.
Yeah, this game is this game has some unique collision errors that I'll talk about that later. Oh yeah, so our rewound time there, that's faster than climbing up the pole. So with this room, after I kill the two lion statues, you notice I pause for a bit. There's a specific reason for that. It's actually something you don't do in the 80% run. I have to wait for the game to actually trigger the event flag for enemies killed, because I'll backtrack through this room later, and if I don't do that, then we'll backtrack through it. Oh, by the way, what I just did there, that is called the zombie glitch. It's a new discovery. You'll notice I'm not taking damage anymore. There's a reason for that. Basically, what happens is there are two different states in this. There are two different states when you die. There's like a one-frame window between 0 HP and actually dying. And if you pause in that one-frame window and use a health potion, you get all your health back, and you're also invincible. Well, it's not entirely true. You're invincible to all enemy attacks. You can still take fall damage. You can die from falling too high. You can die from going into bottomless pits. But yeah, he's effectively invincible. And I'm also killing certain enemies here, because I have to use the Sands of Time to restore two different pillars in order to access secret areas, which you would normally not do in 80%. So yeah, this game has the combat from the console game, and it also has finishing off enemies with the Dagger of Time from the console game. Yes, I'm just that good, Catalyst. It's totally not a replay. So this is a unique room. This is like a totally elaborate challenge room, and yet the only thing you get for it is a single Sands of Time bag. I have no idea why they made this whole elaborate puzzle area just for this one Sands of Time bag. I think they wanted to make something a better reward, but they like ran out of pickups. Also, you're supposed to use that wicker basket over there to to knock back to get enough height to knock back the statue bolts there, but you don't need to. You could just there's just enough height. So yeah, that one Sands of Time bag was that entire reward for doing this section. Okay, so coming up is the first like actual sequence break. We're not supposed to be able to get into this area until after we get the double jump, which is our first power up. But this saves a bit of backtracking. There's going to be a lot of backtracking in this game, and that is going to be in the second half. And this is an enemy called a Spear Swinger. And Spear Swingers are invincible until after you expose their weak point, which is throwing their spear in the air. And because I'm so under level at this point, it takes a little longer than usual to fight the enemy, but it's still faster to do it early. Yes, that is definitely the case, Sprint God. And I did the testing, and it actually ends up being faster to wait it out with the Spear Swinger and then grab the medal. Those medals will activate gates later on, which you'll see later on when we backtrack. There are occasions later on in the game where we'll encounter Spear Swingers, and it'll actually end up being faster to like let them swing and go and grab collectibles afterward. But that's not the case. That's actually one case where it's faster to wait it out. There's a health potion. There's 9 health potions. No, sorry. Let's look at my notes here. Yeah, there's 9 life potions, 9 Sands of Time, and 5 antidotes in the game. And okay, so this map is going to introduce one of the stranger parts of the game's collision detection. In addition to being completely invincible, the game's floor collision detection allows you to do this. You're supposed to make a bridge, but who needs bridges really? Bridges are for squares. The reason that works is because the game has 2 frames of collision every time you walk off a ledge, and you can do things like swing your sword during those 2 frames, so you can just stack them and end up just walking on thin air across the bridge. Oh yeah, TAS is a tool-assisted speedrun. I use re-record, save states, frame advance, etc. in order to create a theoretically perfect experience. And for those of you who've played the game, there's the Scroll of Gathering from earlier. It actually does end up being faster not to fix the bridge. So we've got the double jump. If you've been playing normally, that's normally where we would go back to where that Spear Springer was earlier. So we've entered this cutscene, and we actually lose the zombie glitch now, because entering cutscenes is one of the things that cancels the zombie glitch, as well as switching characters between the Prince of Farah. Oh, by the way, Farah's in this game too, and she's actually useful for once.
Farah useful.
Well, you can play as her for one thing, and she's actually pretty decent. I mean, she doesn't fight any enemies, but she has a bow and arrow, and I mean, right now we're solving puzzles that normally you'd be solving with Farah, but I mean, she has some tech, and oh, by the way, I just killed myself there in order to bring Farah closer to me, and I rewound time right as I was dying there, which canceled the game over music. Now that saved about 1.5 seconds. So we're actually going to be switching to Farah very shortly, and you'll see how useful Farah can be in the Game Boy Advance version. Check this out. You can use her bow and arrow to extend her jumps, gives her a little more height. That becomes very useful later on. And she also moves very quickly. And she also has her own version of the curtain climb. And she can even do sequence breaks later. So you notice I didn't switch characters there. There's actually a reason for that. Again, it's exclusive to 100%. In order to you don't want to skip the cutscene there, because for some stupid reason Ubisoft decided to put the puzzle solved event flag in the cutscene, where you saw when in the puzzle solved cutscene. So when I'm backtracking later, it actually makes the room unwinnable because it resets the puzzle, and I don't have Farah anymore. So yeah, I learned that the hard way when I was first doing the when I was first doing this. So yeah, this is Farah being a badass. Never thought I'd say that. Yeah, Farah's actually pretty good in this.
That's not Farah, that's her sister. Like, Farah can't be useful. Farah is just the worst thing ever.
Although
Every SOT runner.
I do have some bad news for you. Farah is only in this world, only in World 2. She doesn't appear again until like near the end of the game, and then only in a cutscene. So this is like for like only 5 minutes you get to see Farah. Unfortunately, her gameplay opportunities are very short-lived. Also, that was like a really brief collision error you saw just there. That was able to opportunity. Okay, so more about collision errors. So in addition to being able to extend your jumps with those sword swings, the game also does a ground check for collision if you hit the bottom of a floor. Like if you hit the bottom of a floor, like the bottom of a platform, it does a 2-frame ground check, and you can extend those into jumps, and you can do like extended bonking jumps, bonking your head against the ceiling, and it is an absolute wonder to watch. Also, Farah's amazing. The one drawback to Farah is that she takes knockback from all damage. That's probably the one basic weakness to Farah. Is that she will flinch from any damage she takes, except when she's like jumping on curtains. That's like the one exception to that rule. Also, there seems to be like some binary rule as to whether or not you can double jump after falling off of a platform. I don't quite understand it, but it's like on every odd roll or every even roll, you can double jump. I was never able to quite get it, but I tried to plan when and where I double jumped over that. By the way, I used the cancel there because I don't backtrack in this room, and I used the zombie glitch there because there's an extended portion here without Farah, and I was deliberately setting up my routes earlier with the Prince where I was taking damage optimally so that I'd be able to take damage there. And again, set this up. Normally, you'd only go into zombie mode twice in any percent run. Once in World 1, just to set it up initially, and then again at the start of World 3, because that would take you until the final boss. So this is a whip mistress, and normally she's not that easy to fight. But the thing with whip mistresses is that they will alternate between 2 attacks. One of which is they'll try to grab you, which if they succeed at grabbing you when you have the zombie glitch activated, the game soft locks, because the game is supposed to deactivate your grab mode when you take damage, but you can't because you're invincible. But yeah, it alternates between the grab attack and the whip swing. You want to use the grab attack to sort of like swing off like sections of their whip one bit at a time until you can get close enough to them to actually deal damage. So for the way this game works, for things like slowing down or stopping time, there are actual rings. Versus, I think we're going to get the slowdown ring, which slows down time. Which this whole section gets skipped in 80%. There's actually a pretty cool sequence break for it. But because there are collectibles here, we go through this whole section in 100%. And yeah, if you didn't have zombie, you'd have to keep like one eye on the blades and another on the lion statue. And this section is actually pretty annoying to play normally. And I don't need to worry about having those guys respawn because I'm not going to backtrack through this area. And again, I'm going to go through here and do another death warp so that I can bring Farah closer to me. Otherwise, I'd have to use Farah to bring her all the way over here. There's also a jade medal in this. Another jade medal in this room. You may notice I've been picking up metal pieces for those gates. but it's actually faster to wait until until I'm backtracking and clean up later. And because there's another power up that we can't get without a special move. Also, check this out. I love being able to grab that metal in midair. I actually forget how you're supposed to get that normally, but I think you have to use Farah in some capacity. I mean, you can't use it. You can't use her to pick it up because you need to be able to roll in time to pick up those metals. Oh yeah, and I'm taking damage again because switching characters is also another thing that that cancels out zombie glitch, which is why I'm again strategically taking damage so that I can have zombie glitch activated by the time I get to the World 2 boss. So one other cool thing about Farah is that when she is falling to her death, she doesn't actually have a unique animation for it, and you can exploit that right here. I just canceled out of falling to my death by getting hit by a flame as I was going down. So it canceled me out of my death state, and I just took normal damage. And it skipped a lot of platforming going down there. Also, this is supposed to be a seesaw, but yeah, we don't need Farah for that. And I take damage from the flame jet over there, and I'm back into zombie mode, and that's gonna basically stick up until the first final boss. Although the first final boss is like halfway through the game. Okay, so this boss is actually like the worst. I think it's the worst boss to optimize in the run, because I have to use the slow-mo ring and optimize it in such a way, just barely enough, so that I could kill him in one cycle, and also just make sure it was fast. I went through about at least 30-ish different variants of that just to try and save frames off of it. Also, we actually need the scroll of absorption normally, even though we could skip it technically, but we need it for later. So yeah, these sand zombies are called Shielded Knights. There are lots of variants of it. And now we're invisible, which is a real pain if you're trying to play on an actual Game Boy Advance. So, Eraser, do you have any questions about how this game works? I mean, I
don't have too much question. It's just that it's kind of funny that this game also has zombie glitch or invisible prints, dying to bring Farah closer, exactly like SOT run, like normal SOT.
Yeah,
so
well,
it's kind of fun that you found everything like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, the two games did come out at the same time. Also,
yeah,
that's
not the same engine, so that's why it's really fun.
Yeah, and I mentioned before that. So when I was dropping down there, I went to the left just enough to trigger the spear swinger into starting his swinging animation there, so that he will continue swinging as I was killing the tiger on the right. That saved, God, I don't even know, about 23 seconds. Also, here's what I was talking about earlier with the collision. That's me continually bonking my head against the bottom of the ceiling. Again, that's a result of the game doing collision checks every time you hit the top or the bottom of a platform. Because, Ubisoft seal quality and all that. You're going to see much more of that glitch, by the way, including for like extended periods of like 10 or 15 seconds at a time, and it is absolutely glorious. Oh, also, that clip I did earlier is actually one of the easiest glitches to do in the game. You literally just have to find like an inverse L shape and just press down, hold down as you're dropping down into it, and you'll clip right through it. Like right here. It's literally as easy as holding down as you're going into an inverse L. It's not even that... Oh, the scroll of caution doesn't... The scrolls don't actually do anything, except for the scrolls that you pick up at the end of boss fights. They're just like tutorial scrolls. The scroll of caution just teaches you about climbing along ledges. The only scrolls that actually do anything are the ones that you pick up from the boss fights, like double jump, fury, absorption, and then the wall run and wall jump ones that we'll get later, and of course fury. So spear stabbers are actually meant to sort of go in and attack you from the front like that, but the AI gets a little confused when you're in zombie glitch mode. Yeah, it's for completion purposes. This 100% is meant to be everything that you can complete without the link cable, which is basically all but 3 items. So it's more like 99.99%. So in this room, we can get some pretty unique cycles because we're in zombie mode, and we don't have to wait for any of the saw blades. Unfortunately, you'd think that chain up there you'd be able to use the extended jump and double jump, but surprisingly, it's like just out of reach. I was really disappointed. And I think we're gonna get the freeze ring in this map. I don't quite remember. Yeah, this is the map with the freeze ring. The freeze ring is mandatory. The slowdown ring is supposed to be mandatory, but you could skip it. This took about 3 months, I think. I did it as a break from all of the Metal Gear stuff that I was doing, and I had done an 80% version of this back in 2008. Although that desperately needs to be updated now that I found the zombie glitch and everything else.
How much do you think you can gain with zombie glitch in 80%?
Oh, at least 2 or 3 minutes. Probably much more than that. Well, 36 minutes was the time that I got an 80%. I might even be able to get sub 30. I honestly don't know because I haven't routed 80%. I haven't routed the new 80% yet, but it's probably a lot. Toka, to answer your question, the only enemies that count towards your score are the ones that you have to actually finish off with the dagger of time, like the ones where you hold B and absorb them. There's 75 of those enemies. They're called sand Persians. The rest are called sand monsters. And you actually like level up as you kill those enemies, and the level cap is 30 from all of the 75 enemies that you kill.
Do you think you will work on the 80%?
At some point, yeah. I don't know about soon, but I definitely have to improve it at some point, because that's 8 years out of date. I mean, with all the new tech I found with the new 100%. So this is like the one case of absorption. This was the move that we learned from the level 2 boss. It allows us to absorb the fireballs of the lion statues and throw them back at enemies. And this is also the main technique that we'll be using against the second final boss. Yeah, I knew I brought water for a reason. Yeah, I actually started tool-assisted speedrunning as early as 2006. And I remember getting into speedrunning proper. I was in high school at the time, so it must have been 2004. One of my high school friends was one of the top members of the leaderboard in Sonic Adventure 2 at the Sonic Center. Yeah, that must have been 2004, 2005. And I first started at what was then NES videos in 2006. So yeah, I've been tasking for 10 years now. I found a gray hair in the mirror this morning. So yeah, this is another case of what I call spear stacking, which is the essentially just allowing the spear swinger to swing for a little bit while we go off and fight collectibles. Oh, another thing I completely forgot about the spear swingers. Normally you're supposed to like dupe them, or no, normally you're supposed to you're supposed to jump in the air to make them throw their spears. But the thing is, there's like a little exploit where you can actually there's an exploit where you can have your input you can get your input eaten for 1 frame under certain conditions, and then you can get your A button input eaten under that, and it'll still count because it looks for an A button input rather than you actually jumping. So you can stay on the ground while doing that. Oh, by the way, we just defeated a boss while I was explaining that. But yeah, basically that's called spear duping, which allows us to stay on the ground while the spear swinger throws a spear into the air.
That poor boss got completely damage.
Yeah, well, it gets crushed on 80%. It gets crushed in the same way at 80% of well. It just takes slightly longer, because the prince's attack is slightly lower. It doesn't deal as much damage. I think it takes like one extra bag of sand. So here's another instance of now that we're slightly more powerful, we can take down whip mistresses a little bit quicker than last time. So yeah, now we can wall run. That was the power that we learned from that last boss we defeated. So yes, now we can wall run, and don't worry, console Sands of Time runners, we will learn how to wall jump too. So yes, there's wall running and wall jumping in this game. Truly, this is faithful to the Sands of Time experience. But yeah, I like this game. I don't know why people don't RTA it. I mean, I don't because it's tough, because A, it's tough in my hands, and B, I don't have a Game Boy Advance, but...
Well, we need a Game Boy Advance recording card, like...
no, you could run it with a GameCube. And the GameCube Game Boy Advance link is...
Yeah, with the Game Boy player, but you know that material not everyone has, at least not everyone was the game.
Yeah.
For example, I have the game, but I don't have any of this.
Oh yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, I think this game can be pretty fun.
Yeah, although from what I could tell, with MGBA, which was the core that I used for this run, the loading times are fairly accurate, if not 100% accurate. So, it's fairly. I think that emulation would be allowed given the financial limitations. But it seems like if any advantage would be available, that it would be minimal at most. So the medals that I'm picking up, the Medal of Zircon, are actually the only medals that you're required to get in the Cult game. Oh, by the way, they forgot to program a puzzle exit, or a mandatory puzzle exit, so you could just skip all of the lion statues in that room. And I just used like small used like small, like, sort of ceiling bonks. By the way, that's like that. What I just did there, that's like 2 frames faster. I tested it. Gotta save all those frames, and I have a save the frames emote, which is this. That is my save the frames emote. We're gonna make good use of it, I'm sure. Again, that's another example of the ceiling bonk. The ceiling bonk was like one of the earliest bits of tech I found. So certain status effects, like dizzy, for instance, those zombies will inflict dizzy on you, which basically just reverses your directional controls. And even though you don't take damage, you still get dizzy when you're in zombie glitch mode.
I ate the guy with like a genius.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is that you're in like the pre-death state. The game wants to make sure that you don't take any extraneous damage, so that so that your HP values don't roll over or something while you're dying. Because I mean, especially like it's more obvious when you're falling to your death and you can clip through enemies and stuff like that would normally hurt you, just to make sure your HP doesn't go into negative values or anything like that. So yeah, the Medal of Zircon is mandatory. It is the only metal gate that you are required to get in the entire game. And here I decided to waste a little bit of time just to show off another way of getting that medal that is currently above the lion statue's head. It is like maybe like 15-20 frames slower, but I thought it was worth it because I thought it was pretty cool. Like that. I thought it was worth it. Oh, and those green fireballs will inflict poison on you if they touch you, which of course that status effect obviously doesn't apply when you're in zombie mode. And there I just you can roll through zombies. Normally you flinch when you hit zombies, but when you are in zombie mode, Zombie Prince is greater than Sand Zombie. It's simple math, but basically you still get the dizzy effect. So you have to, on the same frame that you get hit, you basically just switch. Oh, by the way, there's an extended ceiling bonk. But yeah, when you get hit by zombies, you just have to make sure that on that same frame you switch input from left to right. Or right to left, as the case may be. Also, there was a random music glitch which I don't quite explain, and now you're gonna hear the music for the Metal Gate continue to play for like the next 15-20 seconds. I have no idea why this happens, but it does. And it's going to continue until the next loop, when the game suddenly realizes, oh no, it should be playing the wrong music. And now I'm going to use the slowdown ring for this for the next tiger, because he has some surprisingly high health. Also because I could do this. I love that strat. Yes, you can hit. Yes, you can hit enemies. You can hit enemies from underneath platforms, because the hitbox of his sword is larger than that of his actual sword. And there you go, another great example of the extended ceiling bonk.
This is just so fun, like setting bonk. That's
Yeah, unfortunately, it's frame perfect. I really wish that there was an RTA consistent ceiling bonk, but there really isn't. Especially once you get double jump, because then you have the chance of button mashing too hard and then accidentally activating double jump, which will put you into a state where it will kill all of your horizontal momentum and then send you crashing into the ground. Another tiny ceiling bonk. So normally when you kill the genie there, you're supposed to step into the flame that he has, and then he has like a magical flame. There's a cool little music tune that plays, and then that causes those red and green platforms to start alternating between spiky and safe. But it's faster to ignore it. I wish, Toka. Also, you may notice sometimes I run into the safe room, sometimes I roll. Sometimes it's a frame faster to do one or the other. It really depends on where your position is going into that. So here I'm just going to stop time and wail on him for a bit. I hit him once, so that I hit him once before that. You have to have the Sands of Time. You have to use the Dagger of Time first to make sure that to actually have him take damage. That's the one thing that I don't think is quite obvious for the Sand Griffin bosses, is that you have to actually use the dagger. Like there, I rolled into the save room because it was faster. It's not always the case, but yeah, you have to actually use the dagger in order to damage the bosses, which breaks the rule of how the dagger works compared to not only this game but the rest of the series. But yeah, it also happens with the fight against the Vizier. That's another thing that I think the GBA game does better than the console game, is that it gives you not only one actually genuinely satisfying fight against the Vizier, it gives you two genuinely good, satisfying fights against the Vizier, instead of, in the console game where you're just fighting an old man and a couple of ghosts that he conjures. You'll see it when we get to the final bosses. They're actually like genuinely satisfying fights.
There is a boss in the console game? I can't remember.
Yeah, there is, and now there's six. There are 6 boss fights in this game. So there you go. Take that, console Sands of Time.
Well, console Sands of Time as father. Like you have to kill your dad. What's something?
Yeah. So in that sense, so yeah, this is another another situation where it actually is slower to do that to do the spear stacking, as I call it. So yeah, this run is on TAS videos. I have submission comments that are much more detailed than what I'm getting into here. Oh yeah, so when it comes to the wall rebound, I had to position it so that I can go into that that sort of that everything that I do when I sort of when I should be pulling up from a ledge, but instead do that sort of weird jump thing. That's also a glitch. That has something there, right there. That's also a glitch related to the way that this game handles collision, and so I have to plan. I had to plan out. I had to plan out where I would, where exactly I would use my wall rebound. Also, he's going to summon an enemy right here, so I hit the GD at a certain point so that it would cancel one of his animations. That saves about 3 seconds. Alright, so that's the other musical genie, and we're also going to ignore his musical flame and just go over to the side and do another ceiling bop. And yeah, there we go. We don't need to do any of that. So yeah, all of these wall rebounds are specifically timed so that I end with grabbing the ledge, and so that I can do that extended glitch. Here we go, another Medal of Onyx. And yeah, like you'll see there, I'm not immune to all damage. I'm just immune to most of it. I can take damage from fall damage primarily. So there's another use of saving a little bit of time by using the that sort of extended swing in order to hit the flame earlier that ball of flame earlier than I would. It saves about half a second. Although, unfortunately, I tried to test it, but unfortunately, it does not work with the scroll of absorption, which is a real shame, because it could save another half second or so. And right here that is instantly as close as I could get to the lion statue without him turning away from me. Because yeah, they will turn away from you if you try to get too close. And yeah, now the tigers have sprinting abilities. These guys are really annoying. Oh yeah, that was another. I just love the ceiling bomb. It's just such a useful move, and it's such a cool looking move. Yeah, there is going to be another bonk later that lasts about 15 or so seconds, which is just amazing. No, unfortunately, because you need to have a specific rhythm over like a 3 or 4 frame window over and over again. I wish it was RTA viable, but no. Here we go.
Probably Robbie can do it since he's perfect.
You wanted more bonking. Yeah. You wanted more bonking, Sphere, and your wish was granted.
See, we all thought at the same thing. Also, for the people who aren't familiar with TAS, like sometimes he said we save 2 frames, etc. But it's actually a lot in a TAS.
Yeah, it all adds up.
Yeah, it's like a work of research.
Yeah.
And you have to be just perfect on everything.
Yeah, it's all about and in 2D it's both a blessing and a curse, because there's less maneuverability options, but at the same time you're under more pressure to get everything perfectly, because there's less of an excuse to justify improper movement.
You just have X and Y value to.
Yeah, you don't need to deal with the Z value at all.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a lot.
So there again, I hit the genie as soon as at the right moment, because otherwise he has a special animation for summoning that sand zombie, and by hitting him at the right moment, I canceled out of it, or I got him to cancel out of it. And just for fun, I got dizzied in the middle of the in the middle of the finishing move animation, just for fun. Oh yeah, that sand hugger, that hugging attack counts as a grab attack. So if you get hit by it, it will also soft lock the game.
Wow. Also, do you think zombie is RTA variable? You said it was one frame trick.
Yeah, it's the Sealy Bonk is a one frame trick, and it's not only that; it's a one frame trick, which, when optimal, is in a 2-frame window. And I mean, I suppose that if you go close to close to a safe room or something, then zombie glitch could be viable. But maybe like for World 3 or something. I don't know about World 1. It wouldn't really be worth it for World 1 because it gets so close to World 2. Unfortunately, I have to wait for this platform, but what can you do? But yeah, I would see it being closer to World 3, because World 2 you get canceled out of it by the cutscene, and you also get canceled out of it. You get canceled out of it from the first final boss.
And when you're getting Farah back?
You don't get Farah back at all. You just see her in the cutscene, and then that's it. She still dies as per the console game, but because that whole romance between them is cut, and he still resets the whole world as per the console game, it makes absolutely no sense why he would do it, because they barely meet or interact at all. This game runs at 60 frames per second, although because of our stream limitation, it runs at 30, or the stream's at 30.
It's pretty sick for a GBA game to run at 60 FPS.
Most of them run at 60, especially like the Castlevanias all run at 60.
Yeah, but Castlevania, like, there is a lot of game in this era that it was really hard on Game Boy Advance to do game at 60 FPS. Like the hour was really limited. So yeah.
Well, I guess if you were like working with like basic sprite work or stuff like that, I seem to remember working with a lot of GBA games that when I was just experimenting with TAS back in the early days that ran at 60, but maybe those were just like unambitious games that didn't push the hardware at all.
Maybe.
And of course Castlevania.
Yeah, but Castlevania and GBA were so good.
Yeah, speaking of Castlevania, this game has a few influences from the Metroidvania genre, which won't really become apparent until we start backtracking. Because right now this seems like a linear map, but it's actually interconnected. This is a Tostitos assisted speedrun. I am actually playing this in real time, but I'm using the power of Tostitos to help me make all frame perfect movements. You heard it here first, folks. I guess the jig is up. Anyway, so yeah, those armors. There are 2 variants of them. We'll see one later where there's an armor. There's like a sword armor where it looks like they die. Yeah, this one here, and then he just turns into a hugger. He gets right back up and turns into a hugger.
So, which tools like eSpring?
Well, BizHawk in the last couple of months got Game Boy Advance support, so I use BizHawk. I use the MGBA core. Oh yeah, so here we go. Here's Farah. And this is where they kind of divert a little bit from the ending. And Farah is held prisoner, and the Vizier basically takes the role of Jafar from Prince of Persia 1. And so he says, "You want her back, you gotta fight me." And here you go, here's an actual boss fight against the Vizier. And this is actually pretty cool. an actual boss fight against the Vizier. So yeah, the Vizier basically is basically like, I mean, he starts out in the same way as the Vizier did in Sands of Time, but then he just turns into, but then after very long, he just turns into Javar. So now and then yeah, it turns out Farah dies, and then he resets the world for no reason, because at this point, there's no reason to do it. They've barely met. So we learned a new move that allows us to destroy wooden doors. It's called Fury. It's a charge attack. So I am very deliberately backtracking specific areas. I'm starting with World 5. And I got this. Okay, so I just got to quote directly from my notes here. I chose the cleanup route very deliberately. World 5 has the final medal of Tagua behind a wooden door, and the Tagua gate is in World 1. However, it's 8 seconds faster to enter World 1 through World 2's front entrance, so I do clean up there first. World 3's entrance happens to be directly across from World 1's, while World 4's is directly beneath the door to the final boss. So it goes World 5, World 2, World 1, World 3, World 4. And it's all because of those stupid metal gates. If it weren't for the metal gates, I probably would have just done them in any order I wanted. So yeah, now because I entered that cutscene where Farah died, I lost the zombie glitch again, which means I have to take optimal damage here to try and get it back. And I have to wait for that. I have to wait for that platform anyway, so I just took damage off the platform's bottom. And because you could use Fury in midair, it ends up being slightly faster. Yeah, it's a charge attack, in case you couldn't tell. And it starts out depending on whatever your attack level. It starts out at a certain attack value, depending on whatever the prince's current level is, and eventually it'll roll forward up to a cap of 99 damage. So regardless of what your actual level is, regardless of how long you hold down the B button to charge up charge up Fury, it maxes out at 99. That's the cap for damage.
So about damage, I have a question. In Vizier, you did 24 damage
Yeah.
each sword slash.
I did.
Is that just normal damage or?
That was normal damage. I didn't have Fury yet, and I also did less damage. I did less damage to him than I had done to normal enemies before, or even to like the previous Vizier, because he has an invisible defense stat, which is just pretty simply like just subtracting your attack power from his defense. The Prince also has a defense stat, which increases when you level up.
That's also one inspiration of Metroidvania.
Yeah.
Like the stat.
I mean, the leveling up is all linear though. It's the and every stat aside from damage value is hidden. And I mean, you can see it in the menu, but it's all hidden from like direct gameplay. So here is our first wooden door. This is why we have to play through each area twice, is because of the wooden doors. And if we didn't have to wait for Fury to get Fury for those wooden doors, or if we could somehow glitch through the wooden doors, this entire area would be much easier, and this category would be much faster. So, how's everyone doing? Are you guys enjoying this run in the chat?
I think they do. Like they answer pretty fast on everything they saw. So yeah.
Yeah.
Also, we were waiting a lot for it, and we are really
So there's
glad that you could make it.
Yeah. So as mentioned before, that there's that Medal of Tagua. There's the Tagua Gates was in level 1 in World 1. So going to World 5 first. Initially, when I was doing the testing for this, I just did 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, just because that was in the just because that's how it was in the guide that I was using. And then when I actually sat down and routed it properly for my second run through, I decided to put more thought into it. Although the guide that I used at GameFAQs was a really good resource, I gotta say.
Also, you had to redo almost everything when you discovered the
I redid I had to redo about 15-20 minutes of it. Because I found the zombie glitch when I was a couple of rooms into World 3, and that was on the first pass, so it really wasn't that much. I deliberately went into like the first, and there's the GameCube switches, which I determined as part of 100%, even though it actually doesn't do anything. But they're switches. They're a part of it, and they actually show the reward, even though it doesn't actually do anything. I thought they're out of the way. They're not out of the way, and I just thought I'd include them in 100% anyway, because there's only one GameCube switch that's even remotely off the beaten path. So why not include them anyway?
No, I guess it makes sense since you can activate them without the GameCube.
Yeah,
you
can activate them. You can activate them, and when you hit all three, it says Nintendo GameCube reward unlocked. It doesn't actually do anything, but you can still do it.
Yeah, so I think it makes sense in 100%. At least in my opinion.
Yeah. So this is another section where I just use an extended glitch jump in order to cross a large gap where you normally have to restore a bridge, like we were restoring those pillars earlier, in the same way you'd have to restore a bridge. But not so much with that glitch jump. Oh yeah, there's one room like later on where we're going to be having a lot of fun with those sand zombies, like very late in the run. Sorry, what was it?
No problem. Did you remember how much faster is the roll? Like you're rolling on the ground?
I remember. I think I ended up. My first test run was. Oh, I think I ended up saving about 6 minutes over the initial test that I did, but that test run had a number of major problems, and that's also when I discovered that initial glitch I was talking about, like in the back of World 1 with the lion statue, that respawns when you move too fast. So I ended up having to do a ton of unnecessary backtracking because of it, and I also hadn't discovered the zombie glitch at that point. So, yeah, 6 minutes saved over my initial test. Yeah, it was about a minute. It's about an hour 21, give or take. And so backtracking through World 2 is the main reason why I deliberately avoided skipping some cutscenes in some of the puzzle rooms, because otherwise that would make some rooms here unwinnable when you're backtracking through them. There's that jade medal I was talking about way back like 30 minutes ago. And that's why I didn't pick it up, because there's like the wall rebound section you can't get to otherwise, and it's faster. There's also an antidote, which you could get on your first pass, but it's faster to wait. Also, that's another spear enemy. This game has like 3 different enemies, which are just like variants on spears. And there you go. That's a 99 damage Fury charge. I thought I'd show that off at some point. So yeah, there's 2 antidotes in this world. One of them is hidden behind a wooden door, and the other is technically available on the first pass, but slower. I just gotta get some water.
Yeah, you're talking since
Oh god, yeah.
But there is so many things to
Oh yeah, this game does not let up. No, I found this game more or less by accident when I first started Tools to speedrunning. I think this was Yeah, my first version of this was a 42-minute 80% back in 2007. Um, it was the first game that I think it was the first that 80% was the first run that I ever managed to get published to TAS videos, where it was still NES videos then, in 2007. And then I made my improvement the next year, and then I worked on number of other projects since then, and decided to come back to this once I'd finished my 2 Metal Gear Solid TASs. And I was desperately craving for something not Metal Gear related, and I thought, hey, why not do a 100% run? No, there was no TAS of it beforehand. I was the first person to try it. And it's a shame, because this game has so much potential, both RTA and TASing.
But the run RTA
There
would
had
be
there had
really,
been
really
there
different.
was there had been a segmented run, which I still think is on the speedrun.com leaderboards from about 9 or 10 years ago. I think it was from about 2005, which I had seen, and I think that was one of the things that had interested me in the game. But that was an RTA 80% run, which I think was like an hour and 15 minutes, something like that.
Without getting zombies, the run will be really different. Like you will have to route every room to not take too much damage. That will take a while.
Yeah, well, you can use the save fountains as well. Those restore your health. Um, and I mean, yeah, those save fountains there. They save your game, and they also restore your health. So yeah, this is what I was talking about before. We're gonna actually go backwards through World 1, which is about 8 seconds faster than using that cave which we were in before, which is sort of like your post-game hub world. Yeah, I infected Robbie with Zombie Prince. It's apparently contagious among speedrunners.
While Robbie loves Zombie Prince in SOT console, so
Yeah.
that's no wonder.
Yeah, there is a wall run power up, I think, in like one of the very first rooms in the game, which is really annoying because I had tried for ages to try and figure out a way to get that particular power up with that on the first pass, and there just wasn't a way to do it. It's like just out of reach for one of the extended sword swings or any of the other glitch jumps you could do. It's a real shame, because that would save a lot of backtracking time. Like this one right here. This if there was some way to get into this room on the first pass, it would save so much time. I mean, I'd have to restore the bridge because there would be no way to, because there'd be no way to get to do an extended glitch jump otherwise. But it would still be, it would actually. No, I don't think it would save any time because there would still be that gate there. Actually, I'd have to look into it because, yeah, I don't know. I just need to work at 80% at some point. I've had enough of Hundo. I'm looking at this as if I'm still routing it. As if this is some sort of whip, as opposed to a run I finished months ago.
I think also runner.
So yeah, anytime that musical sting plays, by the way, is when the prince has killed enough enemies to level up. He starts at level 1, and after 75 enemies, he gets to level 30. So we have killed enough enemies that so yeah, sorry, we've done our task here, and now it is time to backtrack enough so that we can go to the wooden door and get back to the cave. So even here, you could still use that extended glitch jump to save on one wall rebound, which saves about 1 second. This game is just so tech heavy, fantastic. Even when you don't have to worry about damage, the movement, everything about the movement is just so tech heavy. So this room, I think this room has the second GameCube Switch, if memory serves. I'm just having fun with this guy. No, it doesn't. There are 3 GameCube Switches. I remember that much. Yeah, I don't quite have the route memorized, but I do have quite a few things. Quite a few things I remember about this game. Oh yeah, that one platform over there at the beginning of that map. For some reason, when you're under it, you cannot use that. You cannot like stand up under it. I don't know why. So I always lose like 1 frame's worth of speed going underneath it. And this is what caused me so much trouble on my first pass. On the very first test run I did, the hour 21-minute run, because that's when I discovered that I had to wait for enemies, or for that particular enemy to hit the event flag, because Ubisoft is great at programming.
Are you able to check the event flag in the memory?
No, the way that the game doesn't really store event flags that well. They're the only 2 memory addresses I was able to extract were for health and for sands. And even then, I mean, it doesn't. It's the game's programming is really sloppy. Those were the only 2 things I was able to actually extract from the game's memory.
That's really not. It's not enough, I think.
Yeah, even things like
white speed.
Yeah, even things like X pause and Y pause, they shifted around. They would change with every room. I forget what there's a term for that. It's not soft memory. It's something like that. There's a term for when the byte values for things like X and Y position change for every room. But yeah, dynamic memory. That's it. Yeah, everything. Things like position, basically everything except for health or sands was stored as dynamic memory. So pretty much anything else aside from those 2 RAM addresses were useless. Although it did help that I was able to have those 2 addresses available without having to go into the pause menu constantly, because those 2 are available in the pause menu. But it was just helpful to not have to, constantly open the pause menu and have it be really annoying.
Yeah, you would have to re-record each time.
Yep. So that at least was helpful. Also, here we go. More balking! You gotta love the balk! Check out the sick balks, bro! Oh man, Prince is gonna have such a headache.
His head is so tough.
Yeah, he's gonna need like 5 Tylenols after that.
Prince is using Iron Head.
Yeah.
It's super effective.
God, I just love how much Sphere loves the bonking.
Well, honestly, who can't not like this? Like, this is just fun. And it's so... like, everyone can see what is going on and just laugh.
It's one of these where everyone can see what's going on and yet no one understands what's happening.
Just bonk. Okay.
Yeah. Let's see what else is here. It's again. This unfortunately, I had some complaints initially when, just from an entertainment perspective, that it does tend to except for this. You could do, thanks to wall rebound, it creates that little shortcut. Which, if you're like right at the edge of that chain, you can do a wall rebound to get up there, and then use a bit of bonking to cut out having to do the all that pillar climbing at the top. But it doesn't work on your first pass because you need the wall rebound in order to do it. Did I explain about damage and flinching? Because there is, with Farah, she flinches on everything, but not all damage causes the prince to flinch. Like with minor enemies, etc., he can clip right through them, and he still takes damage, but he doesn't actually recoil or anything, or suffer knockback. Things like fire, for instance, like he can go right through fire, taking damage without actually causing knockback, and etc. So you'll often, when you don't have zombie glitch, or you're setting it up, you often want to optimize it so that you take as much non-flinching damage as possible at the highest possible value.
Is it fixed like fireball don't make you flinch, or is it about
it's fixed? Yeah, it's fixed as to what types, like lower types of damage are non-flinching, and larger types of damage do. Yeah, it's always, certain types of attacks will always make you flinch, and certain types of attacks will always be non-flinching. It's preset. And I used to know the names of all of the different metals. There's onyx, there's zircon, there's jade. Yeah, jade was the one in World 2. Yeah, there's 8 different metals, if I remember correctly, and only one of them is mandatory. The others are just optional and backtracking. Oh, here's the other GameCube. Here's the second GameCube Switch, which, again, like I said before, it's like barely out of the way. And the third one is right next to a Wet Mistress in one of my favorite maps of the game. And you see, he's still jumping around. I just love spear stacking so much, because it's like, I imagine like the spear stack. Oh, more bonking, by the way. I can just imagine the spear stacker just feeling so lonely as the prince ignores him, and he's doing all these oppressive spear swinging moves as a desperate attempt to try and get his attention or impress him somehow. I don't know. I get weird headcanon things about this game sometimes.
Well, you need to just to enjoy it more.
Yeah. For instance, that arrow normally causes flinching, as does the zombies normally cause flinching as well. The ones that cause the dizzy status effect. Pretty much everything, like the small enemies are the ones that don't flinch. Things like fire, the small bugs that the beetle spawns don't cause flinching. When spikes like the blades there cause flinching when you're in the air or on the ground, but not when you're on ledges. And I'm trying to think what else. There's like a whole list. Basically, like small niggling things that sort of peck away at your health. Yeah, like that flame jet over there wouldn't cause flinching. Excuse me. Would you believe it? There's only 6 minutes left in this. Feels like no time at all.
It passed really quick.
Yeah, like those big beetles, you wouldn't be able to roll through them if this was a non-zombie glitch run, because they cause flinch. Oh yeah, the hounds, those dogs. The zombie dogs there. Those do not cause flinching either. So I believe it is only World 4 left for backtracking, and then it's time to fight the Vizier a second time. And it's a completely different boss fight this time, and I think it's just as cool as the first time. Alright.
I hope it's better than first time.
Yeah. Alright, here we go. World 4. And World 4 is actually considerably faster in terms of backtrack, because there was an area that we sequence braked, sequence broke earlier, that normally doesn't, there was one area way back at the start of World 4, normally we wouldn't be able to reach it without wall rebound, but we managed to get there earlier anyway. This is what I was talking about, my favorite map, because it's like nothing but sand zombies. And this is where the third, GameCube Switch is. Look at all those sand zombies. And you can I just love you to roll past them. And there's the final GameCube Switch. And if I hadn't picked up that Santa Time bag, it would say Nintendo GameCube reward unlocked. And of course, the reward is meaningless unless you actually are connected to a Nintendo GameCube, but who cares? We have complete. Oh yeah, did you see that? I am gonna pause for this, by the way, just in case anyone noticed. There was a sand zombie who, this guy over here, he's floating over. And this is my screenshot for the TAS. This guy continues to float over here, and will end up landing on the platform and float there, and eventually he'll just disappear. I love that. He is the floating dead. This game is so good sometimes.
We still don't have this in exotic zombie. Man.
Yeah, that's okay. We all know the final time anyway.
We do?
Yeah, it's 7 hours, right?
Oh, I would have said 8 on
Yeah.
the base, but that's okay.
Yeah. So in this case,
yeah, go on.
and then here's another case of being able to hit an enemy from the bottom platform. And since I'm so over-leveled, I was able to kill in just 2 shots. And I think that's the final enemy. I think we're at 75 enemies now. So the prince is at level 30. He is officially OP. Please nerf.
OP print for like 2 minutes.
Yeah, he is officially overprinted. So now it is time to fight the final boss. And this is a pretty cool final boss. He has a shield, and you got to knock back the shields with fireballs that you use with the absorption technique, and then you slowly whittle down his health, or not so slowly in this case, whittle down his health. And it's actually a pretty neat fight, both in real time and tool assisted speed, and in tool assisted. So I hope you enjoy. It's a really neat fight, and thank you so much for sticking around and watching this TAS. It was a real pleasure to make, and I'm glad you all enjoyed it. Here we go, final boss time. Much more satisfying than in the console game.
Well, it's not that hard. I think you just have to. The boss just have to do something and it's better.
And there we go, that's the final boss, and of course, it's something of a tradition for me to teabag him, and time. Of course, we all know time, but there you go. So there you go, that is... Oh, shut up, Cineberry. Anyway, so that was my task of Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time for Game Boy Advance. I hope that this has inspired some people to at least play the game, if not RTA it, because it really is a great game. I highly recommend that people check it out. It's great.
Congrats on tying world record.
Yeah. Well, almost. I stopped for a little bit. I paused in the middle, so there was an obvious splice.
It's not that obvious, don't worry. The guy
Anyway.
will check it one
So I think with this, that marks the